Tips with Tony. Tips with Tony. All about nutrition from your favorite dietitian. Everything you need to digest in your mind. Tips with Tony. Tips with Tony. Making you healthier one bite at a time. With Tony. Woo.
Hello and welcome to the Tips with Tony podcast. I'm Tony Marinucci, your registered dietitian, helping you get healthy one bite at a time. In this episode, I am going to tell you what I eat in a day. I see this trend on TikTok and I want to die. I'm not kidding, but I'm kind of kidding. But seriously, so there's this thing going on TikTok. If you're not on TikTok, it's really actually very entertaining. I highly recommend getting on TikTok. It sucks my life away. It's probably, the reasons when I sometimes stay up till midnight, it's because of TikTok and no other reason. I digress. Anyways, so there's this trend going on TikTok of where these influencers are showing what they eat in a day, or showing examples of like 1,200 calorie days or like 1,300 calorie days or 14, 15, 16, even 1,800 calories. And like, whatever, it's all great for educational purposes. But the reason why I am sharing with you what I eat in a day is not to tell you that this is what you need to eat. Okay, let me be very clear on that. That what you eat should be based off of your likes, your dislikes, what's important to you. If you have any allergies, sensitivities, or intolerances, you obviously don't want to include foods that incorporate that. Your cooking ability, your access to food, your home life, your work life, your family life, if you live with any, like if you're in a relationship, if you're single, there is so much that goes into what a person should eat. So this is not the purpose of me sharing this with you is not to tell you to eat the same thing that I eat. If anything, I really just want to give you some ideas. Whereas on TikTok, I think a lot of the influencers are saying, eat like me and then look like me. And that's a lie. It's just, I'm not going to go on that tangent. Anyways, so I kind of wanted to just share with you what I eat. I think it's important to preface like my goals. So my goals are I'm not trying to lose weight. I'm not trying to gain weight. I literally am just trying to live my life, give myself the energy that I need to feel good every day, to be good at my job, to fuel my workouts. I've been increasing the intensity in my workouts. I have been running a little bit more. I'm back into strength training regularly. Fortunately, my body is being really nice and really forgiving, whereas like the past year has been really hard for me to get back because of a lot of health complications. But I am here and I am back and I've figured out a lot of the things that was getting in my way, and I'm so grateful to have my body functioning back to the way that it really used to show up for me. So it feels really, really good, and I continue to honor that by treating it with kindness. So that's why I want to just share that too. I'm not trying to hit any specific aesthetic goals. I'm really just like living my life. So that's, I don't know what you want to take with that, but that is, everything I share is to reflect off of that. So, all right, let's get into it. I want to keep these episodes pretty short, so let's dive in. So the other thing you'll hear me say is that I pretty much rotate throughout the same breakfast options, the same lunch options, the same dinner options, and even some snack choices. Like I don't really go very far, but that's just because I know what I like. It feels good to me. I've been getting a little bit more in the exploratory area when it comes to like cooking more fun things, mostly because my boyfriend is getting a little tired of eating the same thing all the time. But I honestly just like to keep it simple, and then I kind of spice it up on weekends, which you'll hear on Friday. I'm dropping an episode about how my diet varies on the weekends. And I'm going to say this on Friday, and I'll say it here now. The term diet simply just means the foods that I eat. I am not on a diet. It is my diet. This is Tony's diet. So the food that I eat regularly, that is what a diet is. Whereas you might think of diet and you think of restriction and you think of it needs to fit into a box. That is not the case. All right. So anyways, so my breakfast is usually, and a lot of this also too, guys, you'll hear a lot of these options are really due to like convenience as well. Like I don't want to be spending hours in the kitchen, although I enjoy that. This is really more for like my day to day, Monday through Friday when I have a lot of appointments and Zoom calls and client calls and book writing and content creation, all this stuff. So podcast recordings, like there's just so much that I get to do in a day and in a week that I usually tend to go with the things that take the least amount of preparation. So my breakfast is honestly very often hot or cold cereal. So I usually do oatmeal, about a half a cup or a quarter cup of oatmeal with a scoop of vanilla plant-based protein powder and a tablespoon of a nut butter, either peanut butter or almond butter, and then a half of a banana or some blueberries and some flax seeds. And that's pretty standard of a breakfast for me. Sometimes I will actually do a very similar, like that whole combination, but instead of an oatmeal and heating it up in the microwave, I'll actually take unsweetened almond milk with my protein powder, shake it up, and then throw it in some cold cereal like Cheerios or like Rice Puffs or Rice Krispies or whatever, because I have a gluten sensitivity, so I choose grains and cereal products that are naturally gluten-free. And so then I will, and it's not an allergy. If it was an allergy, I might not be able to have oats, but I digress. Okay. So that's usually what I have for breakfast. And so I'll mix up the protein powder with the almond milk. And the reason why I do that is because almond milk only has about 1 to 2 grams of protein per cup. And I encourage my clients and myself, and what I've read in the research, to have at least 20 to 30 grams of protein at every meal, not just because research shows that it will help you feel fuller longer and help curb cravings, but also getting enough protein throughout the day in general is going to help preserve your muscle mass, which is going to help your metabolism over a long period of time. It'll help support strong bones to prevent things like osteoporosis. And there's a lot of benefits to it. And it's just easier to get your protein needs when you spread it out throughout the day. So you don't have to do that, but I just find it's a lot easier to meet your needs when you do that. And like I said, it really helps me to feel satisfied and not like feel like, all right, that wasn't enough. I need more food, when clearly calorie wise, it was enough food. So those are my breakfast options. Sometimes, but it's rare. I usually either want something hot or cold, and I want something sweet. But when I want something savory, I will do like 1 egg with egg whites and maybe some veggies, or on like gluten-free whole grain bread. I am gluten sensitive. I don't know if I think I said that when I was talking about cereal. But so that's why I choose that. But so if you're not gluten sensitive and you want to just a healthier option, you could do a whole grain just a regular whole grain piece of bread. I would say look for at least 3 grams of fiber per slice. That can be super helpful. But here I am giving advice when really I'm just supposed to be sharing, and you kind of pick what you want, but I can't help myself but give explanations about everything. And the reason why I do egg whites is because I do 1 egg, and then the rest egg whites, about a half a cup or so, because the protein, once again, more protein will help me feel fuller for longer. There's nothing wrong with the yolk. The yolk is a great source of vitamin D, vitamin B12, omega-3s. However, the yolk does carry more calories. And like I said, even though I'm not trying to lose weight, I'm also not trying to gain weight. I'm just trying to maintain. And I feel like the flavor, and honestly, guys, if you like the egg yolk and you want to have 3 eggs in the morning with all the yolk, go for it. I just rather get my fats from things like nut butters and avocado and olive oil. And like, I like to have some wiggle room there. So like, I'm okay with not having, all the yolks. So that's why I do that. So those are like my usual breakfast options. Now, very often I will say that if I have the eggs in the morning for breakfast, then that oatmeal thing or that cereal thing, I usually have later in the day as like a snack. I don't really eat 3 meals and snacks in between. I more so eat about 4 meals a day. And then sometimes if I want to snack on like a piece of fruit or like the other day, like a roasted red pepper, like some veggies. So it's like while I'm preparing my dinner, I will do that. That works for me. You have to find what works best for you. Okay. So that is, those are kind of like my breakfast options. So now what I'm saying is like sometimes though, if I had that cereal for breakfast, then those eggs I might have like for lunch, but this time I might add it with like a side salad or something like that. Very often I keep salad kits on hand because I just find them super, super helpful and easy. I might not use the whole packet of dressing that's inside of it, but I do like that it's like super easy. All I have to do is tear open the bag. I use probably about like half of the dressing kit, half of the dressing packet, but like most of what's in that whole bag. And then I'll usually like put a protein on it. So if I already had like grilled chicken prepared or like frozen turkey burgers that I heated up, I might throw that on there. Sometimes I don't have any proteins because I didn't go to the grocery store. Like I'll put eggs in my salad. Like that's just what I do. And so that's like pretty common where I'll usually have a salad for lunch, or I'll have like that egg breakfast that if I had cereal for breakfast, I might have that for lunch. And then sometimes what I'll do is I'll have that salad, and if I don't have this, that's why it's like I don't like to put food in categories. I don't like to put things as like meal or snacks. Like sometimes I just eat a lot more at one time, and then sometimes I eat a lot less at one time. Like, so sometimes what I'll do for like a snack, quote unquote, is I'll take like a rice cake with some goat cheese and some smoked salmon, and I'll sprinkle it with everything but the bagel seasoning. And like that is super, super satisfying. But if I'm gonna if I want it more like as like a lunch per se, and I want it a little bit more, I'll do that with a salad. And that salad might even have like a hard-boiled egg in it or some grilled chicken or something. Or sometimes it doesn't. Honestly, it depends what I have on hand. And sometimes lunch is leftovers, or my snack in between lunch and dinner is like a little bit of last night's leftovers, and then I'll make a completely different dinner. So I'll tell you kind of what my different dinner options usually are, and then you can get an idea of what that would look like in a leftover. So for dinner, I either make shrimp, chicken, turkey burgers, roasted pork chops, and sometimes chicken sausage when I'm pressed for time or don't feel like cooking. Those are usually the proteins that I alternate. Then I usually make a starch, so it's either like sweet potato or brown rice or quinoa, or I'll just take out a couple corn tortillas. Or I might do like right now it's like squash season, so like a butternut squash or something like that. And I usually use that as my starch, and I practice what I preach. I use the plate method. So I'll take that protein, I'll put a quarter of it on my plate, then I'll get a starch, and then I'll fill the rest of the half with lots and lots of veggies. So not really a lot, like the whole half of the plate, basically. But if I'm a little bit hungry, I might add a little bit more. But I usually do things like cooked kale, roasted Brussels sprouts, sauteed cabbage with some onion, garlic powder, and salt and pepper. So those are like pretty standard. And then, like I said, if I ended up having like my leftovers now for lunch, then for dinner, I might have a salad kit with like a protein or something like that. So I keep it super, 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 super simple. And that works really, really well for me. Now, after dinner, because I'm busy and I'm working super late, sometimes that's it. Like sometimes I don't eat after dinner. But then sometimes if I'm still hungry, I might have a little bit of more of what I had for dinner. And one thing I didn't say is that I always have, not always, but I actually typically have a glass of wine with dinner or before dinner. And so speaking of drinks, actually, I also start my day with a cup of coffee. And I put some half and half in there. And then in the afternoon, if I'm still feeling a little bit tired or I need a little pick-me-up, then I'll do like half decaf, half regular with a little bit more half and half. And that's really it. I mean, sometimes I have a kombucha. It's a fermented probiotic where it's like sometimes I use that as my pick-me-up. So there's a little bit of sugar in there, but it's to keep the healthy bacteria alive in the drink, in the kombucha. So sometimes I'll have that. Sometimes I'll put a little caramel syrup in my coffee if I feel like I want something a little bit sweet. I really like that. So I don't really crave candy or chocolate or anything. When I'm PMSing, I definitely crave chocolate, and I also have on my notes that I want to do a separate podcast episode about managing cravings around your period. But it's kind of rare. Like, I'm pretty much okay with, like I said, I usually have like 4 meals throughout the day, maybe a piece of fruit or some veggies like in between that. And I pretty much rotate through like the same things. Will I go off course and off that? Not even off course, just like off of that. Yeah, of course. But I know what I like, and I kind of stick to that. So it's like, it's kind of boring. Sorry, guys. But your diet doesn't need to look like that. Your diet could be whatever you want it to be. It's just being really mindful of, making some, alternatives, some healthy swaps with what you typically eat in a day, and really find and look for opportunities to change it up a bit. So the reason why I wanted to share this with you was to give you an idea of like how much food you could actually eat in a day and still maintain your weight, to hopefully give you some ideas of what you could, incorporate into your kind of everyday as a meal or a snack. And yeah, I don't know. I wanted to share this with you. So now I think it's really important for you to definitely listen to Friday's episode, which I'm going to record right after this, which is going to be talking about how what I eat during the week is different from the weekend. And that's definitely something you need to hear, because that is where a lot of people go, quote unquote, off track, end quote. And if you didn't hear my episode about changing the way that we talk to ourselves, definitely go back and listen to that episode, because you'll learn why I put that in quotes, off track. So stay tuned for the next episode. Thank you for listening to this. If you enjoyed it, definitely take a screenshot of it, share it on your story, tag me at tips_with_Tony. That's Tony with an I. Also tag me on my Tips with Tony podcast page. And yeah, that is it for me today. Thank you so much for listening. As always, I'm Tony Marinucci, your registered dietitian, helping you get healthy one bite at a time.